This is A is for Adversity, a podcast about curating your life stories to connect more deeply with others. Some stories may have Christian undertones, and all stories will involve a realization or transformation of some sort. I'm your host, Jen Banks. This is episode Why Your Life, Your Story. Hello, thank you for joining me on the podcast week after week. And just a little heads up, these next two episodes will be short and sweet, mostly because it's the holidays, but also because I've had a lot of really long episodes lately, and I'm sorry for that, because really one of my goals is to keep them nice and short so that you can fit them into your life and all the wonderful things you have to do. Thank you so much for choosing to include the podcast as part of your day. If there's anything you take away from this podcast season, I hope it's that you know that your life is story-worthy. I hope because of this season that you realize that you need to record your stories, share your stories any way you choose, but please do it. A few years ago, I started recording my personal life history. I'm still working on it. And imagine if I'd started this when I was in my 80s or 90s. If we get a head start now, we'll be that much further ahead and the memories will be more fresh in our minds. But anytime you choose to do it will be worthwhile. You could record the audio, you could write it down, you could journal. There are so many ways to do it. Homework for life, write a book. My mother-in-law's parents recently wrote a book of their life stories, and it looks just like a novel. It has their picture on the front, and it's their life stories. My mother-in-law was reading it to my son the other day, and he was getting a kick out of hearing some of the stories of Grandpa Vaughn when he was a boy. I remember a story that my grandpa shared often. He was a young boy and he was in the backyard playing near a creek and was catching frogs. And each time he would catch one, he'd put it in his pocket. So he had a collection of frogs. Soon he realized he better go home and he was late for dinner. His mom promptly got out whatever she used to spank him at the time and was spanking him very harshly, and he kept yelling, "My frogs, my frogs!" And so she was squishing the frogs that were in his pockets. There are so many stories we can record. Funny ones, sad ones, impactful ones, happy ones. All the moments are important. I know this sounds a lot like a family history topic, which it correlates rather well. There's a lot of overlap with storytelling and family history. Our posterity really does want to hear what goes on in our life. Our lives are so dynamic. There was a quote that I found by Jamie Varon, and it says, "If you feel off track, please remember there is no track. This is your life. It ebbs and flows and twists and halts and speeds up. It all belongs. Stop trying to be a robot who is productive and perfect all the time. You're not a robot. You're a human. Be alive to it all." And I would add to that, share it any way you can, any way you want to. Leave a legacy that will last longer than your life. If you'd like to pitch your story for the podcast, or if you want more storytelling strategies, contact me at jenbanks16@gmail.com, or find me on Instagram at jenbankscoaching.